let's start with Dortmund. It's a pretty big game for them against Freiburg on Saturday. Nuri Sahin quite vocal about the fact that the international break was probably just at the right time for them. With players coming back to fitness. And Maxi Bayer too played really well for the U21, right, against France. So I think that is the sort of momentum that they were hoping for, to get from the international break. Deal with the fitness issues. So yeah, but at the same time, he's survived until the international break. I think there was some people who thought maybe he won't. Although I think anyone who thinks that Nuri Sahin would get fired hasn't really met Hans-Joachim Watzke yet. But Stefan, this is such a big, important game for them. And I think, if I remember correctly, Freiburg really always struggle in Dortmund.
Yeah, they do. They actually struggle on the road in general this season. It's not so much maybe a Jekyll and Hyde side. Don't want to go maybe too strong with that, but they're definitely a team who play much better at home than they do on the road. They picked up 2 wins on the road, to be fair, against Bremen and Heidenheim, but it lost to Leipzig, lost to Bayern, drew with Union Berlin, obviously, before the international break. But they just don't seem to score many goals either. They've only got 5 goals in 5. They do a decent job of keeping it quite tight. They've only conceded 5 goals as well. So I think Dortmund will be up against a stubborn Freiburg side. I think, they put on a very strong performance against Union Berlin from what I can remember ahead of the international break. Away from home in Berlin, a game that probably were favourites to lose, if I'm being honest. And they kept a clean sheet, and they actually really limited Union Berlin's chances. So I think it'll be a game in which Freiburg set up to basically frustrate, and they'll be up to Dortmund to prove that they can, score and win the game. But more importantly, show that they are this coherent team who are working towards something. To be fair to them, they do have a pretty decent home record. I actually think they have the best home record in the Bundesliga this season. And if I'm not mistaken, I think... I was going to say that they're one of the best teams at home in Europe. They probably are, but the stat I was thinking of was this kind of weird kind of contrast between a team who have won every game at home, I think, so far this season, but also... let me see if I can just pull up here. Yeah, also haven't won away yet this season. That's what I was thinking. No, sorry. I knew I had something like that in the back of my head. So we're talking about a team here who's won every single home game, but has failed to win every single away game so far. So this game's teed up as more or less not an easy start for Nuri Sahin, but a start that they should be looking to win. His press conference this week, he was talking about all the players they've got returning from injury. They've got Gio Reyna, if you can still remember who that guy is, Julian Duranville, Valdemar Anton, and of course Gregor Kobel as well,
and Jamie Giddens,
of course. Yeah. Sahin he did stress, like, you look, these guys aren't all 100%, so it's not exactly like I'm going to shuffle my entire team about here, but I think he just likes the idea of having options. And I think the biggest bonus for Dortmund going into this game is that Emre Can suspended. So, it just seems like a win-win-win for Dortmund, to be honest with you, going into this match. On a serious note, they do have... I just want to pull it up, so I've got the stats in front of me, because I think this is actually quite an important thing to note, because it's a good point to talk about what's coming next for Dortmund. And if we kind of look at the stretch of games they got coming between now and the Christmas break, we've got Freiburg at home, Dinamo Zagreb away, then they play Bayern Munich, Gladbach, Barcelona, Hoffenheim, who we'll talk about on this show, and then they play Wolfsburg before the end of the year. So it's this kind of 7-game run where there's some perfectly winnable games in there, including the Freiburg game, but they have two really big games against Bayern and Barcelona where, if they're not careful, they could get absolutely ripped apart by both of those teams. And I think Sahin will be looking to this game and thinking, right, we've got Bayern Munich on the horizon. But first is Freiburg and then Dinamo Zagreb. Those have to be 2 confident 3 points in the bag, and signs that this team are actually going somewhere. Because, as you said, these kind of rumours of Sahin getting sacked or the club trying something different continue. And we could debate this till the cows come home, whether it's Nuri Sahin's fault, but there's no doubt about it that, not everything's great at Dortmund right now. But this is the perfect game where they have to pick up all 3 points and show that they're actually working towards something, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's not just Sahin, right? I mean, there's also a big report in Kicker this week that Doniel Malen is going to leave the club at the latest next summer, right? And that is, I think, is significant and adds to the noise of everything that's going around. So I think Dortmund's mission really is to just calm things down, to get the ship back into calmer waters. And I think, this is good for them, because I just pulled up the stat. Dortmund haven't lost at home to Freiburg since October 2001. In fact, that is so long ago that Dortmund's current sporting director, Sebastian Kehl, was actually the scorer of Freiburg's winning goal. So just to give you an idea of how far back we have to go, and how unlikely it seems that this is going to be one that Dortmund are going to drop points in. But yeah, you mentioned the return of all these players, Gittens and Duranville and Gio Reyna and all these guys coming back, Anton coming back too, right? It adds important depth, but also I think significant corner pieces. I think Kobel coming back and playing in goal again. He's just better than Maya. There's just no doubt about it. And it gives Sahin the ability to switch players in and out. That's what he was talking about, competitiveness in the squad, in training, etc. And that makes all the difference for this team. I guess it's important that everyone does stay fit. There's also reports that Karim Adeyemi is nearing fitness as well. I think that is the really big one. I'm not quite sure he's going to be fit for this game, but just the general prospect of Karim Adeyemi coming back, because he was one of the best players in the Bundesliga before his injury, finally showing some of the potential that he has. And just as he was really good, as it's so often the case with him, he goes out injured. So yeah, this is going to be a really interesting game. And, for Freiburg too, finally maybe get something at Dortmund. I think, I still think if Freiburg finally gets something at Dortmund, then we really have an interesting topic to discuss next week, Stefan.
We do. I mean, it's worth bearing in mind that even though I just kind of rhymed off Dortmund's kind of perfect home records, that's not to suggest that they've been perfect in every home game so far this season. They only scraped by St. Pauli a few weeks ago. Bochum and Heidenheim also gave them really tough times. I know people probably look through their fixture list and see 4-2 wins and think that's a pretty straightforward result, but believe me, I watched those games and they were not matches that were really wrapped up until the final whistle went and Dortmund fans could breathe a sigh of relief. So I suspect Freiburg will be looking at that and thinking, we hope to do something similar, but obviously hope to take points off them. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens here. I guess what we're trying to say here is that the only thing that Dortmund have really been able to rely on this season is that home form. They've beaten Leipzig, they've beaten Celtic in the Champions League comprehensively 7-1. And of course, they beat Frankfurt at the start of season 2-0, who are obviously kind of the talk of the town right now this season. So they do know how to pick up big results. They seem to know how to kind of grind out results against the smaller teams as well. So everything points to Dortmund picking up a pretty comfortable win here. But if they don't, that's where the alarm bells continue to ring, because if they don't have this home form, they don't really have anything this season. And that's probably just the kind of context I think we have to take this game in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's going to be a great game, I think. Really one to worth tune into. And Dortmund have delivered tons of storylines for us this year. So let's see how this goes.